Today, I'll be comparing and analyzing two distinct graphic novels across two different cultures: Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue and Maus by Art Spiegelman. Vagabond is a fictional retelling of the life of Musashi Miyamoto, one of the most influential swordmen and philosopher in Japanese history. The style of Vagabond is very unique from other graphic novels. The brushwork, outline, and the realistic character design allow Vagabond to give off a traditional appearance. This style of art appropriately sets the tone for a historical narrative. The subject in Vagabond is often drawn over a plain white background, which matches the Zen Buddhist theme of the novel. In contrast, Maus is on the other extreme of the realism spectrum. From the character portrayed as animals to the cartoonist setting and objects, almost all aspect of Maus is distinctively different from Vagabond. Maus also utilizes heavy shaded outlines and backgrounds, which is fitting for a narrative conveying heavy subjects such as the horror of World War II and the Holocaust. Vagabond is an action-driven manga. However, it rarely uses blurring or onomatopoeia to emphasize movement. Instead, it takes a more subjective approach. The manga uses smaller panel and action to action as well as action to individual transition to show movement. As you can see in this page, the panel first focuses on the boy observing Musashi, then to a front view of Musashi practicing, and then to a streak of line illustrating the movement of his sword, then to a panel of Musashi's face, and another streak of line, then another panel of Musashi's face, but this time with a calmer and more matured expression, and finally a detailed borderless panel of Musashi wielding his sword. By using different transition of smaller panels, Vagabond is able to convey flowing action and emotion of characters at the same times. On top of that, the slashing and flowing of water in this page also help to tie in all the panels and portray the calmness of all his actions. Unlike Vagabond, Maus primarily uses dialogue and narration to portray the story. The panels in Maus is also very structured. They are all roughly around the same size and has straight outlines and gutters. Therefore, if a panel doesn't fit in the ordinary, then it could be used to create tension or as a focus point. For example, in this page, the reader follows the panels until the flow of conversation is suddenly interrupted with another panel. Unlike the other panels, this one has a spiky outline which bleeds through the gutter. Within the panel, it's a Nazi pointing a gun directly at the readers. His speech bubble is also filled with bold letters. By interrupting the sequence of dialogue with an offset panel, Spiegelman is able to generate a lot of tension and surprise in order to portray the unpredictability of war. A picture is worth 1,000 words. This saying exactly summarizes the stylistic approach of Vagabond. The art of Vagabond has a sense of realism unparalleled to any other graphic novel. For example, in this panel, even without reading the novel, the reader are able to tell that the characters are crying from a sense of achievement and relief instead of pain. Vagabond is able to convey deep messages without using any narration or dialogue. Because of this, the manga is able to go on for many panels without using a single speech bubble or narration, and still create a deep, engaging story. Takehiko Inoue, the author of Vagabond, is also very skillful at utilizing camera angles and subject placements. In this panel, the camera angle is placed on the ground and faces all the characters. This allows the characters to stand in the foreground. By placing the characters on the foreground, Inoue is able to bring them closer to the reader, thus emphasizing their facial expressions and emotions. On top of that, Inoue is further able to highlight the subjects by illustrating them on a large panel, which takes up the entire page. Similar to Vagabond, Maus also uses facial expression. However, this time is to elevate the horror aspect of the narrative. As you can see in this panel, the Maus' large and baggy eyes reflect the horror that the character is seeing. On top of that, the spiky speech bubble and bolded text makes the character seem like as if his voice is shaking. However, up until this point, the readers have no idea what the Maus saw. This allows a buildup of tension and mystery, which is finally revealed by a splash panel which spans across the page. Within the panels are the characters staring at a Nazi flag outside the train window. By combining expression, speech bubble, and sequences of panels, Spiegelman is able to effectively create buildup of tension throughout the novel. Apart from the expressive imagery, Vagabond is also able to craft a captivating narrative by using speech bubbles and onomatopoeias. As you can see in this panel, the grunting and shouting of the fallen samurais are enclosed in a jagged speech bubble. In contrast, the panting of Musashi is placed in a smooth speech bubble. By utilizing different speech bubble outlines, Inoue is able to contrast the anxiousness of the samurai's voices to the calmness in Musashi's tone. Despite illustrating multiple subjects, Musashi is still the main focus. This is due to the fact that not only is Musashi placed in the midground, his outline also bleeds over other panels. Then, with the contrast of a blurred background, Musashi is able to monopolize all the graphic weights, thus making him the focus of this page. Spiegelman is also an expert at making use of bleed panels. For example, in this page, as the readers follow the narration and dialogue, overlapping pictures begin to increase in quantity until the overlapping panels completely covers the main panels. This creates two different narratives on the same page. The main panels portray the conversation between Vladek and his son, while the bleed panels illustrate his actual flashbacks and memory in the form of pictures. There are a lot of similarities and differences between Vagabond and Maus, but in the end, they are both masterpieces that everyone should read.